Welcome to the ANSO Podcast. I'm your host, Manuel Calo, and today we have a fascinating conversation lined up. Before we dive in, I want to remind our listeners that this podcast is being pre-recorded on Saturday, March 8th, 2025 at 1400 for transparency and context. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. The views and our opinion expressed in this podcast are those of the individuals and do not reflect any official stance or any organization or entity. This is a platform for open dialogue, professional insights, and inspiring stories. Now let's get in. I'm honored to have with me today Roxana Pozos. Roxana has an incredible background balancing leadership, global logistics, and community service. She's a driven individual with passion for outreach, mentorship, and personal development. Roxana, we welcome you to the ANSO Podcast. How you doing today?
Good. How are you, Manuel? Thank you for having me here today.
Yeah, awesome to be here. I know, we had a quick conversation prior recording. I know, shout out to Coronel Montalban that he approached to you, to the Presidente Montalban that he approached to you, and then he said that you wanted to join the ANSO podcast. So that's why we have you here. So this we're gonna focus on who's Roxana. We're gonna focus on what's your background, who you are, where you came from, some leadership insight that you can actually share with the ANSO community and our listeners. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. Awesome. So can you talk to us who Roxana is?
Yes. So again, I'm Roxanne. I was raised over in North Carolina. My family's from Mexico, and I was raised really my entire life in North Carolina, but I was born in New York. Don't claim the North, I claim the South. But yeah.
Yep. And then you grew up in North Carolina, and okay, so you're from the Mexican background, grew up in North Carolina, and then, so what motivated you to actually, and I know you are in the military right now, what motivated you to actually enter the Army at this point?
Well, that's kind of a funny story. So my mom put me in a high school, like a military high school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was more like JROTC heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there for roughly a year, and then I transferred out to my more like closer to home school, and I continued doing JROTC. And it was really the veterans that like cared about showing up, being there,
Mm-hmm.
invested um, in your future and making you better. That was like one of my biggest motivation. I wanted to enlist immediately after high school. My mom said no. She was like, "You
Okay.
can't do that."
So why do you think she said no at the time?
Because she wanted me to get my education. She wanted me to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't want to go to college. And she was like,
Mm-hmm.
1 year, give me 1 year of college.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, I'll give you 1 year of college. And one of my good friends from another high school had gotten the ROTC scholarship,
Oh,
and
okay.
told me, hey, you can do ROTC with me. Just do 1 year, and then you can go enlist, and come do it with me. And I was like, well, why not? Maybe this will help me learn something, get ready. So I was like, why not? And then before I knew it, 1 year turned to two, to three.
To two, and then three, and then four, and then graduated. So then you went to college. So where do you go to college to?
I went to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte.
Okay, and then what was your undergrad?
My undergrad was in psychology.
In psychology, and then you got fascinated with the ROTC program, I assume.
Yeah.
So for those that are listening right now and don't know about ROTC, can you speak what looks like to be an ROTC cadet?
Yeah, so ROTC is one of the commissioning sources for the Army. I'm sure for several other branches as well, but for the Army, it's one of ours. And basically, you go to regular college while also simultaneously being in the ROTC program. So you still have your classes you attend and PT, but it's not full time like an academy. It's more like the allocated time. You still have your social life. You can go and be a part of many organizations, do many things, just like other other ways, sources of commissioning, but it's a little bit different because you are in a regular college.
Yeah, so you basically are in the college, and then you join the reserve officers training corps, and then you become a second lieutenant in this case for the U.S. Army, and then that's how you one of the commissioning sources. We know we have direct commission, we and the Army, we have the ROTC, and also the OCS Officer Candidate School, as amongst them. But you went to the ROTC, which is in conjunction with your college, and then you have your undergrad in psychology, and then you were able to join the U.S. Army as a second lieutenant. Now, do you want to actually go active duty, or you competed for that, or you want to? Oh, what your mom said actually? I'm curious about what the mom said.
Well, my mom, it's funny, I held back from signing my contract until my junior year when they were like, hey, you have to sign because you have to go to advanced camp. And I was like, well, you got me. So I signed, and then I didn't tell my parents. I went home and I was like, Mom, I finally signed. And she was like, oh my goodness, why didn't you tell me?
Mhm.
And then my dad, when I told him, he was like, I thought you signed up like 3 years ago. Uh, so it was pretty funny, but they've been supportive, and it was definitely a roller coaster. Like I had to teach them a lot. I'm the first in my family to join from both sides.
Okay.
Um, so it was a learning curve.
Yeah, and that's important to highlight it. So you were the first one join the army, but actually you had leaders that you just look for, and that's what intrigued you to actually join the army, right? So that's what basically you were telling us.
Yes. Yep. And then
Yeah,
active
and
duty wise,
go ahead.
uh, yes, I did compete for it, and believe it or not, like there's like a system you have to like put you want to go active reserve or um, National Guard. And I was like, well, I don't think I can get active duty. I had some self doubt, which I think we'll
Mhm.
later on talk about some leadership. But I had some self doubt, and I was like, I'm not going to get it. There's no way I'll get it.
Mhm.
But I wanted it. And I think I was a little scared at first, and I was going to put reserve, and I was like, no, but I want it. And so I was
Mhm.
like, let's see if I get it. And put it as my number one with like 2 minutes remaining before submission, and I got active duty.
And you got it. You get addicted to it. That's good. You will never know what's gonna happen if you don't try it, right? And I think that's a great lesson that you teaching us out here, because you were like, no, I don't think I'm gonna get this, because obviously competing for active duty is a rigorous process, because like a lot of people are competing, and then if you put that in your mind, then I mean, you will never know if you're gonna get it if you don't try. In this case, you actually tried and got it, and then they gave you quartermaster, right?
Yes, I'm a quartermaster officer.
So in a nutshell, what is a quartermaster for those that's listening?
We are in charge of the logistics in the Army. So anything that has to do with fuel, ammo, supplies,
Hmm.
we usually deal with.
Can you relate that to a civilian sector, like similar to comparison?
For civilian sector, I would probably say it's equivalent to, I always say like we could do like a warehouse at Amazon. Like we
Like
also know
Amazon.
to
Hmm.
work those skills, have those skills, build those skills. Um, Same with like running a gas station, but not
Hmm.
necessarily being the manager, but like understanding the bigger picture of like fuel, where how you get your gas, where is it going, is it the gas that you need? And similar with water, as well as the food that we eat in the military. Um, so working like at a cafeteria, that's also some expertise that we know. Um, and then as well as mortuary affairs.
Yeah, it's basically a quartermaster and logistics is like the managers of the supply chain in the in this case in the army. Related to civilian sector, you can be a supply chain manager in Amazon. You can be a supply chain manager in that gas station that you're talking. Like it's more like that coordination. How much fuel do we need? How much fuel we need to transport? like when we see the network from the supply chain from the civilian perspective, it's a lot. And recently, from since the COVID era, from post-COVID era, from here until now, supply chain is a huge topic everywhere in the United States. Before the COVID, nobody cared about supply chain, and now, like since it's COVID, like now everyone cares about supply chain, and we can see that in today's day it affects a lot of stuff in the civilian sector and also in the military. So that's why we need officers that need to take charge of the supply chain in the army in this case. Now you got active duty, and then what? So you got your what duty station do you get after you get your active duty orders?
So my first duty station was Fort Gregg Adams to learn my job.
Hmm.
So I was over there for 4 months, and then
Hmm.
after that, my first official duty station, more long term, was Fort Riley in Kansas.
Yeah, so obviously for Great Adams is where you all the logisticians will come and learn their craft. And then most definitely you got sent from North Carolina to Fort Gregg. So how was that transition for you? Like for your life, for your personal life?
It was a change. I'm very family oriented, and like the first month being away from home, I was
Hmm.
like, oh my gosh, I miss my mom's food. Um, like college, I'm from North Carolina, and I lived in the same city where my college was, so I was a commuter. So I was still home. So leaving home, that was like my first big time leaving home. And this time I knew that it was for a long time, because there was,
Wow.
a year I
Hmm.
didn't live on home and I was in college, but like this,
Hmm.
I knew that there was not no going back home anymore. It was, I signed up
Yeah.
for the army. I won't be in North Carolina for the next 4 years.
Wow. So a
Yep.
huge impact, a huge movement, right? A huge change of the life, share your way of life. Because now, from being with mom or close to mom, now I know it's real. After you sign that contract from ROTC, your active duty, your orders get in. Now it's real, right?
Yeah.
Now and then you came to Fort Adams and then went to Fort Riley. How about that change now? Because now I know North Carolina to Fort Adams is like quite
Similar.
similar, but going to Kansas is way different.
Yes, it definitely is. I was not ready for the Midwest lifestyle.
Hmm.
I learned how to two-step, and I got some cowboy boots and went to a lot of rodeos. Um, but it was a great experience. I think that a lot of people say Fort Riley is not the greatest because it's Kansas. Who goes to Kansas? But I had a great time. I think it was a great first duty station. It was affordable and safe. I always felt pretty safe in Fort Riley. Um, it was a great place to begin my career, and I've taken everything that I've been taught there and have used it everywhere else. So it was a great place. What they don't tell you as a lieutenant when you move is about all the furniture you have to buy and all
Hmm.
the kitchen utensils you think you have but you really need. So I was not ready for that.
No, now you're getting into the adult life, right? So
Yes.
now the real adult, so, like going to the grocery store by yourself and getting all the groceries that you need, or just going to the store to get like the utensils or the furniture that you need. And now, oh my God, like it's a lot. And I know that because it happened to me as well. So I've been in your same shoes, so I can relate to your story. So in my case, I was sent from Puerto Rico to Hawaii as my first duty station. That was a huge change, right? So yeah, but great to hear Kansas. And then you were in Kansas, and then now you're in Honduras, right? In
I
Honduras.
am. Yes. Went from
Yeah.
Fort Riley over to Sotocano, Honduras.
Yeah, they're most definitely doing your job, and you're being a executive officer. Doing your job out here in Honduras with your unit, right?
Yeah, so I just finished my executive officer time, so now I've been moved to the battalion S4. So,
Okay.
yeah.
S4, continue the logistics. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Learning learning all about logistics and continue the logistics flow, supply chain management. So this transition for community engagement and mentorship. So I seen that you've been actively involved in community services, and that you support local initiatives to lead in alumni engagement efforts. What actually inspired you to take these roles for community engagements?
What really inspired me is giving back to my community and knowing that I helped with something that may affect somebody else's life and make it for the better. So if it's, a food drive, I know that I'm collecting food for someone
Hmm.
who needs it. And allotting my time for that, knowing that I'm going to make somebody else's life a little bit easier, brings me a lot of comfort to me, and I always find new ways to give back or find organizations that are in communities to give back. And what really steered that was my mom. My mom would always take us to community service events growing up. We were always in the city at like 8 in the morning doing something with some organization, whether it was gathering blankets, food. Um, getting books, school drives, stuff like that. I was always there. I was I may have been tired, but we were there. So I think that like steered the beginning of it, and then I just love it. It's like a stress relief for me.
Hmm.
And just getting out there and being with people that like to do the same thing I do.
No, no, that's great to hear. Obviously, giving to the back to the community, that's important. Not only because like we focus on our jobs and what we can offer to through the army, but or to the military, but having those outreach, it is very important to actually give back to the community. So good job in that. Now, as we go for that same line, we know that ANSO is all about promoting the retention and mentorship through officers in the sea services. But you have something similar to the ANSO. We have a brief conversation, which is the Golden Water Project. Can you actually expand on that and what's the main mission and what you can offer as well?
Yes, so the Golden Warrior Project is a 501(c)(3) organization. It was established in 2024, so we're relatively
Hmm.
very young. We haven't hit our
Hmm.
year yet, but it's dedicated to enhancing retention, mentorship, and professional success within the officer corps through community outreach. Our mission is to focus networking and connections by facilitating the pairing of soon to be officers with current junior officers. So we saw a gap between my lieutenant friends and I that started this organizations that we didn't really have a stepping stone, a mentor that can teach us what being a lieutenant is like the first year to 2 years. We know we had our classmates that were above us, but not all of them were the same branch, and we weren't always close with many of them. So um, it, this organization was built to find a mentor and connect somebody, a soon to be officer, with a current junior officer. That way, they can talk about how to save money now that you're in RTC for that couch you want to buy for your first duty station. Or what does that move look like? What to expect when you go to BOLIC? What to expect when you get to your first duty station? The do's and don'ts of being a platoon leader or being an executive officer or a staff position. So we wanted to really just emphasize on the mentorship of soon to be officers with junior officers so we can build the retention and also make sure like they're not alone and they have us to rely on, building a community overall.
No, and very important points, all valid that you made through this organization. And again, ANSO focus the same way, similar way as the Golden Water, the same project that you're just talking about. So and it's important because like when I remember when I was a second lieutenant, I had the same situation that I have no idea what to expect for about my job and what's gonna because like they teach us something in ROTC, but sometimes doesn't relate too much of what we're gonna expect, especially when we go to these supporting roles as a quartermaster. Why not? Because like when we talk about artists, it's more like leadership focus and more infantry and all the stuff like tactics, but not so much about okay. So I'm a butter bar. So what's next? And I think that goes through the entire force. I mean, so it doesn't matter what's your background. Sometimes like people can get over the hurdles of like having to deal with situations some other people don't, and that's why having mentorships and leadership like this and programs like this, I think it makes a great difference for this rotation and mentorship within the military ranks. So now, so let's do the have here question here. Now, leadership means different things to people. So, can you define leadership in your own journey? Like, what's the meaning for leadership right now for you in your career, in your journey?
I would say serving others while inspiring them to do their best as well. Like, definitely, it's not about just authority, but what you can do to be that positive influence in somebody else's life and helping them achieve their goals. So that's what I see as leadership.
Nice. And then I have a following question. So let me see here. So what are some of the habits or practices that have helped you to stay on track with your personal and your career and professional goals? Anything in particular?
Something that I personally do, like I set out my goals for 2025. So some of them, go to the gym more and read more. And then the way that I assess my goals is usually every week I'll sit down, usually on a Sunday, I'll sit down and I'll check how many times did I go to the gym? Okay, I went 3 times. Next week, I want to go 4. Next week, I want to go 5. But it always depends on like work schedule as well. How much work do I have and where can I allocate time? Should I wake up early in the morning or in the afternoon? And that's usually how I like make healthy habits to continue to improve on my goals and keep them up to date weekly, because otherwise I'll make the goal and I might forget about it. And same with finances. Like I want to buy a car and I want to buy a home when I go back stateside. And in order to do that, I usually check my finances at the end of the week and I'm like, where did my money go and how can I allocate it to meet my goal for my future house and my future car when I go back stateside? So that's usually what I do every week.
No, that's most definitely great way to actually start balancing some of your future aspiration. In the case you want to buy a house and you want to get a car, so sometimes you have to have short term goals and sometimes you have to have long term goals, right? And we do something in the military. Our 5 years plan that we actually plan for our next 5 years, and believe it or not, those 5 years goes fast. Trust me. I was looking to my records. I was looking to my act. You know what I mean? And some of the goals I put like 5 years ago, I'm either achieving or I did achieve. And sometimes I'm terrible actually managing these goals, being transparent. But when I went back to my actually website, I was like, oh, I did accomplish this one, but I forget to actually keep on track, whatever the case may be. But it is very important to have your short-term goals and long-term goals. In my case, so I have like 9 years, nine more years on the service. So my gap is going fast because as soon I put my 5 years right now in motion, the next time I'm gonna be like putting my uniform off. You know what I mean? So that's it. That's it. But it's important. That's great to hear. Great to hear about about goals. Now, what advice would you give to individuals that are looking to take leadership roles and then while staying true to their core values? I mean, people that actually want to be leaders, but actually you need to be true to your core values and not be something else.
That one was a definitely a hard one to learn as a junior lieutenant, especially because my first role was being a battalion S4 OIC, officer in charge of a battalion, and I was a second lieutenant. I was expected to know what a captain knew as a second lieutenant, and that steered me to my response now, which is be open to being challenged. Be open to being challenged. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think that can translate to both military and civilian. We get put in uncomfortable situations, but we grow from them. And be open-minded. That would be my last one. Be open-minded. Your right might be wrong to someone else, and someone else's wrong might be right to you, or vice versa. Don't take the shortcut. Learn to grow in the uncomfortableness and be ambitious to take on different leadership roles. I think everyone always steers away from the additional duties. I say run to them. Run to them because they make you learn something new. They challenge you, and then you become an asset. And it's just another skill in your box.
No, all valid points. Appreciated to share that with us and the audience as well, so they can take that and apply it to themselves. Then, now, if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what will it be? Like, what advice would you give to your younger self if you had like the opportunity to go back and give you some advice to yourself?
I would say, if I could give an advice to myself, I would say to be more confident. I think that I have a lot of skills that I doubt, and then there was many times I think, like I mentioned, like should I go active duty or not? Just be confident. Just do it. You can do it. I was more than capable of being an active duty officer, and I have shown myself that. So just believing in myself and knowing that I was capable.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. And then, what advice would you give to our listeners? They're actually thinking about, coming to the military and they don't know anything about the military.
I would say definitely do your research. Talk to someone. Talk to someone that is already in the service, whether that's an officer or enlisted. Talk to someone. I've had a lot of people from high school hit me up, and people I've never talked to hit me up and say, hey, I know you're in the service. What is it like? And I'm like, wow, I actually never talked to you, but it's intriguing that you reached out, and I'm glad that you reached out because it's good to want to learn. So talk to someone, even if it is that person that you never talked to in high school and they're serving. Reach out to them and get to know their why, get to know what they do, and make sure that you have that ambition to be better, and you'll flourish. Everything's online now, so you can research everything. But I would say definitely talk to someone.
Yeah, that's again appreciated, Roxana, to share with that. Now, this has been an incredible conversation about your background, who you are, leadership, mentorship, and again, appreciate it. Now, before we wrap up this podcast for today, where can people learn about more about your work and the Golden Water Project?
So we have a website at thegoldenwarriorproject.com. And on there, you're able to find how to become a mentor, how to request a panel for your university. And usually it consists of officers and just sharing our background, our experiences. So you can go on there. And we also have blogs on there about lieutenants overcoming different journeys that they've had. So that's one way to get in touch. And then same with our email.
Yeah, appreciate it, Hassan. So, any last words before we actually finish our podcast?
I just want to say thank you so much for having me. ANSO is definitely an organization that has helped me as a junior lieutenant, especially in the Army. And I really appreciate you guys having me online.
No, and again, ANSO is focus all inclusive, meaning all military branches, just because like they originally were for the sea services, Marine, the Navy, and the Coast Guard, but now have you seen we have other branches that are joining this awesome community for the ANSO, and again it's about mentorship, growing, and retention on our officers and enlisted in the military branches, in the U.S. military branches. Roseanne, again, appreciated your time, your effort, and everything you do. I might see you on this side when you come to stateside. So once you come here, just give me a holla because we had that conversation, right? So I'll see you here. And Greg, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and then for thank you again, to Sam, for sharing your journey with us today, and to our listeners, we appreciate you tuning in today. Don't forget to follow Answer in all social media. You can follow in Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as the Answer Mill. Also, you can find more information at www.answermill.com. I will leave all the links in the description below. Also, for the Golden Water Project, I will give the link if you want to more know about them and what they do. As always, a final disclaimer: the views expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers and do not represent any official positions. This podcast is a space for open dialogue and share experiences. Again, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the ANSO Podcast. We'll be back soon for more insightful discussion. Until next time, take care. This is Manuel Calo signing off.